Alright, working on this bug this morning that came in the other day. Trying to just go through it, look for stuff, change some stuff around that I didn't like in the engine compartment. And recently I've seen some videos on why you should use hose clamps on Volkswagens. And I'm going to make a video on why you shouldn't use them. You see this filter? See, I want to get that on there really good. But if you can see the filter, this isn't round anymore. It's flat on two sides and round on two sides. And that's where the fuel leak comes from. When you put clamps on and tighten them, makes this not round. Eventually this splits. As a matter of fact, I was going to say it's starting to get a split in it. They split right on the sides that are smashed here and here. So it's smashed here and it's starting to split there and there. Eventually it'll split up here and then start leaking gas. Volkswagen, this line will contain 2 pounds of fuel pressure, no problem. If you're going to use clamps, get a metal filter for sure. That would be the only way that you can run clamps. If you're going to try to incorporate one of these filters, never use clamps because it's going to cause a fire and not prevent it. So this one here has got the fuel line all running in weird positions, so we're trying to fix this where the fuel clamp was right on the positive terminal for the coil. Coil was upside down, so I turned it back over, and now I'm going to relocate this line. It needs to be shortened up a little bit. I'm going to take this clamp loose and we'll look at the other side of this filter. And maybe you can get a better idea of what I'm telling you. These clamps seem to be much better for a round clamp. You know, if you're going to use clamps, these are nice clamps if you can find them. See how they make a perfect circle? Where unlike this one, doesn't make a circle really. You know, that's the issue. You can see the side that had the round clamp on it is nice and symmetrical still, and the one that had this is smashed. So keep that in mind if you're going to run clamps on your Volkswagen line. I personally never have. 25 years, 30 years, however long I've been doing this, and I've never had an issue. You want to keep up with the fuel line, make sure it's not old. When you cut it, it should cut clean. This had a piece of rubber hose on it. We did away with that. Now we're going to put his filter over here on the side so it's out of the way of the coil and any kind of ignition source. These usually have a arrow on them. This one doesn't seem to. Odd. Anyway, put this back in place, and we're going to go ahead and put his clamp back on because he had clamps. And you know, if you bring your car in with clamps and you want clamps, then I'll put them back on. But personally, I don't care for clamps. And if you're going to get into a high pressure fuel situation where you're running a performance application, more than likely we're going to be running A&N fittings on your car, not push on fuel lines. Although I will tell you from experience, you can go 12 flat with the stock pump with 2 pounds of fuel pressure with IDAs and on a, you know, 82 by 88 motor. I did that with the stock fuel line through the tunnel and all the stock fuel filter and everything, pump, all that good stuff. All right, now we need a line from there to there. Gotta put it over here. That's where I'd rather put it. Alrighty, so that's what's going on with this. Got to put a carburetor gasket on it. It was bad. Had this on there. And everything's aftermarket on this car. Everything from the all the bolts, everything. Incredible. It's incredible. I don't know where you got all the aftermarket stuff. This car came from Puerto Rico. Just had it shipped over here. And it's got a few electrical issues. Never going to try to fix. Oh, that clamp wasn't even on. Anyway, it's got a few electrical problems. Apparently, when you have your car shipped, they pull all the fuses out instead of just disconnecting the battery. And it has no headlights for some reason. So we're going to try to take care of that. There's that clamp back on there. We're going to put the clamp on the other side of the filter. Put the filter right there. Ought to be good, out of the way of the wires to the coil. There's that. So it's finally Friday, huh? We made it to Friday. Got a couple of videos for you guys up this week. I don't know if you guys like videos every day. Some of you do, some of you don't. Some of my old subscribers like the videos every day. And some of them don't. So I'm probably going to make a new one of these. This is the choke wire assembly. I'm just going to make a new one of that. Clean that up a little bit. I don't know why they have this deal over here. I don't know exactly what this is. They seem to have the ignition running through a relay. I don't really know a lot about, but I'm just going to leave it just like it was hooked up. I like to put new connectors on all this stuff. But I will recommend he put new connectors on all these wires because they need it. And if he wants me to do it, I can do that. And if not, he can do it. He works on his own car, so a lot of guys just want to, you know, do what they can themselves, and I understand that completely. This is our Prictronics. Another one of my favorite items. Not. But a lot of people like these. A lot of people like these. So we got the red wire. It goes to the hot side. I got the pickup wire. It goes to the negative side. Let me see. I could go behind there and be a little cleaner. So we'll run that back here. Just trying to clean this up. This wasn't my party. Somebody in Puerto Rico did this. So now we're going to put our cap back on. I better put our rotor in there. Our cap will be absolutely useless. A lot of advance in that 09. Alrighty. Alrighty. Look at that. I'm going to pull that down so no water gets in there. There we go. That's better. There we go. So that's a little more what it's supposed to look like. Fuel filter is not on top of the positive lead. Got a gasket on the carburetor now. We got oil in this bad boy. We'll get some wire ties and tie those wires up. Put this air cleaner back on. we'll see how this thing runs. Like I said, it didn't run too good when I fired it up. It sounded really bad, but he wants the valves adjusted, so I'll probably go ahead and do that. And then we'll fire it back up and see what's going on from there. I got to make the harness for the choke and the fast idle. And then we'll move to the front of the car where he's got some alignment issues. Take a look at that. He even got aftermarket stuff up there that I've never had to deal with. But it's amazing what they sell for these things aftermarket. I mean, I think you can get pretty much everything. And the centrics that adjust the caster is this way, camber is this way. The camber adjustment usually has a notch on it from the factory, and the notch goes forward. I'll show you what I'm talking about. For you guys that are doing stuff at home, if you want to drive the car to the alignment shop, or if you don't want to have it aligned and you're just trying to do it yourself. Anyway, no, this wheel locked. So I think I went to get the key for this thing and never unlocked the steering wheel. This is like a late model trying to be an early model. That's what we got going on here, boys. It's a lot of yellow. A lot of yellow in the driveway today. Alright. Anyway, we got adapters on here. I did not have anything to do with those adapters. My old partner got sued for about $1 million or so because of these adapters. Somebody bought some of these at the store and they came loose, and the wheel and tire went through a plate glass window and killed some lady that was shopping, and there was a big lawsuit. Yeah, so make sure these are tight all the time. Anyway, here's our eccentric right here. Normally that would be just black or rusty if it was a Volkswagen. Oh my god, that was that loose. That's crazy. That's the ball joint bolt. That's needs to be a little tighter than that. We'll tighten that down for sure when it leaves here. Needs ball joints. Boots are all bad. Looks like the bottom one was replaced. Top one looks a little older. Anyway, the problem with this car is the wheel's not sitting flat on the ground, and this is where you start. These eccentrics should be, I'll get the wrench on here, and you can watch the drum move in at the top and out at the bottom. This is your camber adjustment. And normally on a Volkswagen, it would have a little line right here, a notch, and that always goes straight, parallel with this bolt. It should follow, when your wheel's this way, it should be straight, and when you turn it out this way, it should turn with the spindle once that nut's tight, and should be straight forward all the time. So there's no notch on these aftermarket ones, which makes it sort of hard. That's why Volkswagen put the notch on there. And I don't know if I'll be able to show you the notch in here on my 73 or not, because the lighting's going to be terrible. But anyway, so we come right here. Here's your notch, and you can see it with the screwdriver. The screwdriver stopping in there. And if you got factory hardware on your Volkswagen, anything with ball joints except the Super Beetle, it'll have that eccentric, and it should always be straight ahead. Any deviation from straight ahead, the tire's not going to be flat on the ground. It's going to alter the camber quite a bit, and you'll lose your contact patch as you turn or while you're going down the road. So that should definitely be straight. So we'll get this as close as possible, and might have to go for an alignment. You know, I can set the toe and stuff, but it just depends on how far the stuff's out of whack. This one I aligned and did some suspension stuff. Look at the angle on that. Got some turning angle on that bad boy. But anyway, that's what's going on with that. I buffed this little spot of the bus here. It looks really sweet. It's really smooth. Might do that in a little while. Do a little buffing. Anyway, this is what's going on today. We're going to sort of go through this. Got a fuel leak. This hose is bad right here. This is no bueno. This is got a hole right here, so it's leaking fuel up here, and then it's making the car smell like gas. And then these usually don't work out. You know, when you go for the rubber hose, there's a sleeve that's supposed to go under this that actually is a seal that Volkswagen uses. This is the factory hose. These aren't the factory clamps, so that's suspect. We'll have to check that. But always start there when you have a fuel smell in the car. It's your vent line. And there's some smaller vent lines on this side. And we'll check those also right back there. Let's see if they're okay. The other thing is the sending unit has a seal on it that you should check. So that's what's going on here. Hope you guys are having a great day. I'm gonna jack the back of this up, get underneath there, adjust the valves like I said, probably adjust the brakes, just look over everything for this guy, give him a general idea of where he's at and what he needs to do. And if it's anything, you know, that might cause fire or safety issue, I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that now. And via the fuel lines, I went ahead and got rid of all that stuff. I have to put a few more clamps on because he had clamps, so I always put clamps back on. But we're definitely getting rid of that. I'll tell you a little story about taking stuff off people's cars. I was lucky enough to work for Scooter at R&S Performance for 15 years. And I missed one day out of the 15 years because I fell out of the parts trailer. We have a bunch of semi-trailers down there filled with parts. We'd take them off cars as they'd come in and clean them. And then we'd catalog them, and then we put them in the trailers and hang them on the walls, whatever. You know, just Volkswagen stuff. And we were going up in that trailer, and it didn't have any railing on the stairs going up in the back of the semi-trailer. And it was just angle iron sticking up. And I slipped on the top deck, or the step broke. I forget what happened, but it was really nasty. And Scooter was in the front, and little Mike was in the back, and Ocala Mike, and he tried to catch me. I slipped and fell, and that angle iron went right through the side of my leg, dude. It went in deep. And Mike's a little dude, he picked me up and pulled it out, and it was nasty. I got it stitched up, and I think I missed the day. But anyway, getting back to taking stuff off customers' cars, Scooter, anytime somebody come in with hose clamps or whatever, you know, they would go on the what we call the metal barrel. You know, you take it off and put the German line back on. And we had a customer we had built the motor for, and came back for the 500-mile recheck, and it had rubber line all over it, and Scooter had a heart attack, and he took all that rubber fuel line off, all the hose clamps, and he put them on the wooden bench, replaced it all with German hose. And when the guy came in, he was quite upset. And it was after hours, and Scooter asked me to go outside and change the lines back over, and I was down on my knees just like I am talking to you guys behind the car. And things escalated quickly, and the guy accused me of trying to rip him off, and I'm like, yeah, I just work here. And you know, he was looking out for your safety, and tried to explain it to him. He wasn't having none of it, and finally he proceeded to stomp my collarbone and broke it instantly. Broke my collarbone with one kick. And I remember it was like fighting for my life from there. We were rolling around, and Scooter's the little dude, so he wasn't coming out to get in the middle of it. But we had Doberman's guard dogs, and he threatened to let the dogs out, and the guy got off me. And went about his business, and the guy actually came in to get his car worked on about, I don't know, a couple weeks after that. You know, I was still had my shoulder in a sling from the broken collarbone, and I had the biggest hammer in my hand out of my toolbox when the guy walked in, and Scooter told him maybe it'd be better if you go somewhere else and get your car worked on. So always put customer stuff back on their car, whether you know you think they should have it or not, even if it's a safety issue. Sometimes, you know, it's your opinion over their opinion, and everybody deserves their own opinion. We all know that. So there's not any absolute in this game. You know, everybody has the way they do it, and depending on how you were taught is, you know, probably how you do stuff. Just like these hose clamps, you know, I'm not a fan of them, and the reason why I'm not is because of who I work for. But you can see that's definitely far from a circle. And then you got that little barb coming down to cut the line. So these are that terrible clamps, terrible, but they're cheap, so that's what everybody buys now. Anyhoozle, I'll go ahead and let you go after that little story. It's the RNS performance story there. Got my ass kicked on 36 West Crystal Lake Street back in the day, and it's amazing. I've had a couple confrontations there on that road, and the last one that I got into is how I met Andrea, sort of, so that's sort of funny. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off. Hope you guys are all having a great Friday. Get out there, push that record button, and try to make it a great weekend, and go work on your cars.